000 to 045. June 1942. The island of Mindanao, Philippines. Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Fertig stands at the edge of a dense jungle, the humid air thick with the scent of decay and the distant echoes of a war already lost. Just weeks before, on May 10, 1942, 78,000 American and Filipino soldiers marched into Japanese prison camps across the archipelago, including Mindanao. Every officer received orders to surrender. Fertig, a mining engineer, watches the columns of defeated men, a profound defiance burning in his eyes. He turns his back on the surrender, on the clear command, and steps into the impenetrable green. He possesses no weapons, no radio, no soldiers. Only an impossible question. Can a single man, alone in a conquered land, ignite a resistance that defies an empire? 045 to 3 o'clock. Wendell Welby Fertig, born on December 16, 1900, in La Junta, Colorado, is not a career soldier. His life before the war unfolds far from the battlefield, amidst the blueprints and machinery of civil engineering. He attends the University of Colorado and the Colorado School of Mines, though he does not graduate, instead accepting a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army Reserve in 1928. For years, he builds roads and bridges for mining companies, first in the United States, then, from 1936, in the resource-rich Philippine Islands. His expertise lies in construction, in the practical application of engineering principles, not in leading men into combat. In June 1941, as the shadow of war lengthens across the Pacific, Fertig is recalled to active duty as a lieutenant colonel with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. His task is to fortify the Philippines against the looming Japanese invasion. He serves in Bataan and Corregidor, witnessing firsthand the brutal efficiency of the Japanese advance. As American and Filipino forces are systematically overwhelmed, Fertig receives orders to Mindanao in late April 1942, to assist in the demolition of critical infrastructure, roads, and bridges, denying them to the enemy. But the collapse is swift and complete. General William F. Sharp, commander of the Mindanao Force, signs the surrender order for all American forces on the island. For Fertig, the war ends not with a whimper, but with a stark choice: surrender to the Japanese, or vanish into the unforgiving jungle. He chooses the latter, a solitary act of defiance that will echo across the Pacific. 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. No one believes him. Not the Japanese, who dismiss any notion of organized resistance. Not even the Allied command thousands of miles away in Australia, who assume all American forces in the Philippines are either dead or captured. They are all wrong. Fertig's decision to fight rather than surrender is a desperate gamble. He is a 41-year-old engineer, not a seasoned combat leader. He has no official authority to command anyone, let alone an army. Yet, he carries an unshakable conviction, an almost mystical belief in his destiny after surviving or avoiding multiple airplane crashes during his movement from Corregidor to Mindanao. He finds himself in a land teeming with independent guerrilla bands, a chaotic mix of former Philippine Army soldiers, civilian volunteers, and outright bandits using the war as a cover for their own criminal enterprises. Many are anti-American, some are locked in centuries-old tribal feuds, particularly between the Christian Filipinos and the Muslim Moro tribes. Uniting these disparate, often hostile, groups under a single command seems an impossible feat. The challenges are monumental. There are no weapons, no ammunition, no uniforms, no medical supplies. Communication with the outside world is non-existent. The Japanese occupy the major towns and coastal areas, their patrols a constant, deadly threat. Mindanao, a vast island, is home to approximately 50,000 Japanese soldiers, mostly garrison troops tasked with maintaining control. Fertig knows that if a regular U.S. Army force could not withstand the Japanese onslaught, an irregular force, ill-equipped and untrained, faces even more insurmountable odds. The prevailing military doctrine dictates that guerrillas can only provide intelligence and, if properly equipped, fight as regular forces under American command. Fertig must build an army from nothing, in enemy territory, with no external support, and convince a skeptical populace that resistance is not futile, but essential. He must transform chaos into a coherent fighting force, a task that seems utterly insane to any rational observer. 8:32:00. In the sweltering heat of July 1942, Fertig begins his audacious undertaking. He understands that military authority is paramount in the Philippines. A lieutenant colonel will not command respect among the scattered former Philippine Army officers and local leaders. He requires a higher rank. In an act of unparalleled self-promotion, he seeks out a local Filipino metalsmith. From old coins, the artisan fashions 2 silver stars. Wendell Fertig, mining engineer, pins these stars to his collar, declaring himself a brigadier general. This bold move, while lacking any official sanction, provides the immediate gravitas he needs to begin unifying the disparate resistance elements. His first major ally emerges in the form of Luis Morgan, a Filipino policeman. Morgan possesses an acute understanding of the local dynamics and recognizes that an American leader is crucial to secure any future support from the U.S. military. Morgan persuades Fertig to assume leadership of the nascent guerrilla movement. Together, they begin to establish a rudimentary command structure. Fertig, drawing on his engineering background, approaches the problem with a systematic mind. He assesses the situation, the available personnel, and the scarce resources. The early days are a desperate struggle for survival and legitimacy. Scattered American and Filipino soldiers who refused to surrender, along with civilians enraged by Japanese atrocities, slowly gravitate towards Fertig's banner. By September 1942, just months after his decision to fight, Fertig's fledgling organization counts over 300 soldiers. Their arsenal is meager: 4 machine guns, 150 rifles, and a mere 6 boxes of ammunition. This small force begins to conduct hit-and-run raids and crucial coast-watching activities, harassing the Japanese and gathering intelligence. One of Fertig's critical early successes is forging an alliance among the diverse populations of Mindanao. Unlike other islands, Mindanao has a significant Muslim Moro population, historically at odds with the Christian Filipinos. Fertig, through a combination of American and Moro leadership, brings these groups together, uniting them against the common Japanese enemy. This ability to bridge cultural and historical divides proves instrumental in expanding his reach and influence. As the resistance grows, another key figure, Colonel McClish, an American officer who also refused to surrender, makes contact with Fertig. McClish has been organizing similar efforts in the western part of Mindanao. The two men decide to consolidate their commands, with Fertig appointing McClish to organize the fighting forces in the 4 eastern provinces, forming the 110th Division. This consolidation is vital but fraught with difficulty. Many independent guerrilla bands still operate, some of them predatory, terrorizing villages. Fertig's men must disarm and jail these bandits, simultaneously training friendly natives and commissioning qualified young men as officers. It is a slow, painstaking process of building trust and imposing discipline where none existed. The Japanese, meanwhile, are not oblivious. They increase patrols, interrogate captured guerrillas, and torture Filipino civilians for information. They learn a name: Fertig, an American general hiding somewhere in the mountains of Mindanao. By the summer of 1943, the Japanese place a significant price on his head, making him the most hunted man on an island of 8 million people. Yet, Fertig's army continues to grow, fueled by the very atrocities the Japanese commit. Burning villages, executing civilians, torturing prisoners, each act of brutality drives more Filipinos into the resistance. Farmers who initially tried to remain neutral join after witnessing their neighbors murdered. Young men who had hidden from both sides volunteer for combat units. The Japanese are, paradoxically, creating the army they desperately try to destroy. A major hurdle remains: communication with the outside world. Fertig understands that without contact with General MacArthur's headquarters in Australia, his movement lacks legitimacy and, more importantly, vital supplies. His engineers and signalmen work tirelessly, improvising equipment. They manage to construct makeshift radio transmitters, often from scavenged parts, and begin attempts to reach Australia. The vast distance, approximately 2,000 miles, and the primitive nature of their equipment make this an arduous task. For weeks, they transmit into the void, unsure if their signals are even reaching beyond Mindanao. Then, on January 31, 1943, a breakthrough occurs. The U.S. Navy radio monitoring station in San Francisco answers their call sign. This tenuous connection is a lifeline. Robert C. Ball, William F. Conco, and Stuart Williver Jr. become Fertig's signal corps, maintaining this fragile link. The American command, initially skeptical of a self-proclaimed brigadier general operating in the Philippines, questions Fertig's authenticity. General Charles A. Willoughby, MacArthur's intelligence chief, had previously assured him that effective armed resistance in the Philippines was impossible. The Japanese even announce that a bombing mission has killed a Major General Fertig, which the Americans initially dismiss as propaganda. MacArthur's staff sends a series of personal questions, details only the real Wendell Fertig would know: his wife's name, his hometown, where he went to school. Fertig answers each one correctly, yet skepticism persists. A mining engineer claiming command, a lieutenant colonel promoting himself to general. It sounds like either a Japanese trap or the delusions of a man driven mad by the jungle. MacArthur sends a blunt message: there will be no promotions to general rank for officers in the Philippines. Fertig must revert to colonel if he wants support. Fertig accepts the demotion but continues to wear his silver stars on Mindanao, a quiet symbol of his self-made authority. In February 1943, now officially recognized as Colonel Fertig, MacArthur appoints him commanding officer of the 10th Military District on Mindanao. This official sanction is a pivotal moment. With communication established, the flow of supplies begins, albeit slowly. On March 5, 1943, a U.S. submarine arrives, delivering crucial military and medical supplies, along with 2 Americans who knew Fertig from before the war, including Captain Charles Smith, an intelligence officer. These submarine missions become a vital artery, providing medicine, weapons, ammunition, and radio gear. Over the course of the war, Parsons's spy squadron of 19 submarines will deliver 1,325 tons of supplies in at least 41 missions. With legitimate supplies and official recognition, Fertig's organization gains momentum. His engineers, utilizing their ingenuity, establish a network of 58 radio stations across Mindanao. These stations, many operating in heavily garrisoned areas, become the eyes and ears of the Allied command, transmitting vital intelligence on Japanese ground, sea, and air activities. Coast Watcher posts meticulously monitor Japanese ship movements, reporting directly to MacArthur's headquarters. Filipino agents in Japanese-occupied cities count troops, map fortifications, and identify targets for future Allied operations. This intelligence network grows even faster than his combat forces, proving invaluable to the Allied war effort. By June 1944, MacArthur's Philippine Regional Section counts 169 radio stations operating across the major islands, with Fertig's Mindanao organization being the largest. The guerrillas conduct hundreds of encounters with the Japanese. From September 15, 1942, to January 1, 1945, McLeish's forces alone record over 350 engagements, including ambushes, raids on patrols, and attacks on small garrisons. These actions result in 115 guerrillas killed and 64 wounded, while Japanese losses are estimated at over 3,000 killed and 600 wounded. These are not large-scale battles, but a constant, attritional warfare that ties down Japanese forces and prevents them from fully exploiting Mindanao's resources. Fertig's engineering background also proves invaluable in solving practical problems. His men obtain a complete machine shop from a Japanese lumbering company to maintain their motor equipment. They even construct havens for distressed American planes, pilots, and crew, offering safe landing sites and refuge. One remarkable incident involves a guerrilla sailing ship, armed with a 20mm cannon, shooting down a Japanese medium bomber, possibly the only sailing vessel in World War II to destroy an enemy aircraft. By mid-1943, Fertig establishes a civil government across guerrilla-controlled territory. He understands that simply fighting is not enough. He must build a nascent nation, a functioning society that resists Japanese rule. This dual approach of military and civil organization further solidifies his control and the loyalty of the Filipino people. His forces continue to grow, recruiting not only Filipinos but also approximately 187 Americans, both military and civilian, who had refused to surrender. These individuals provide crucial leadership and expertise, further strengthening the resistance. 32-0038-00. It is late 1943. The Japanese launch a major offensive, a determined push to eradicate Fertig's growing resistance. Intelligence reports confirm a significant concentration of enemy troops, perhaps thousands, moving into the mountainous interior of Mindanao, directly targeting Fertig's headquarters and key supply routes. The air is thick with tension. Patrols report increased Japanese activity, columns of infantry advancing with artillery support. This is not a routine sweep. This is a coordinated attempt to crush the guerrilla movement once and for all. Fertig's command P. Ost, a collection of camouflaged huts nestled deep within the jungle, becomes a hive of activity. Maps are spread, illuminated by flickering oil lamps. Runners arrive, breathless with fresh reports. The Japanese are burning villages along their path, a scorched earth tactic designed to deny the guerrillas any support and to terrorize the local populace into submission. The sounds of distant gunfire and the faint, acrid smell of smoke drift on the wind. Fertig remains outwardly calm, his movements deliberate, his voice steady. He understands the immense numerical superiority of the enemy. His forces, though growing, still lack heavy weapons and the training for sustained conventional warfare against a determined Japanese push. His strategy is not to meet them head-on, but to melt away, to disperse, and to strike where they are weakest. He issues orders for a strategic withdrawal. Villages are to be evacuated, supplies cached, and traps laid along the enemy's projected routes. His men, many of them farmers and fishermen just months ago, move with a practiced efficiency born of necessity. They know these jungles, every hidden trail, every natural ambush point. They are ghosts in their own land. As Japanese columns push deeper, their advance is met not with direct engagement, but with a maddening, elusive resistance. Sniper fire erupts from unseen positions, then vanishes. Small ambushes strike the flanks of the enemy formations, causing casualties and sowing confusion before melting back into the jungle. Booby traps, ingeniously crafted, detonate unexpectedly, maiming soldiers and slowing the advance to a crawl. The jungle itself becomes an ally, its dense foliage and treacherous terrain exacting a heavy toll on the Japanese. Fertig's radio operators work feverishly, transmitting constant updates to Australia. The intelligence they provide is critical, not only for their own survival but for the Allied command, who are now keenly aware of the strategic importance of tying down Japanese forces on Mindanao. He receives a message from MacArthur's headquarters, a terse acknowledgement of the grave situation, but also a reaffirmation of support, a promise of future supply drops. It is a powerful morale boost, a sign that they are not forgotten. The Japanese offensive grinds on for weeks, but it never achieves its objective. They capture empty villages, find no large concentrations of guerrillas, and suffer increasing casualties from the constant harassment. Their supply lines become stretched, their morale erodes under the relentless, unseen attacks. Eventually, frustrated and depleted, they begin to withdraw, leaving behind a trail of destruction but failing to break the spirit of resistance. Fertig's forces, having dispersed, now begin to coalesce once more, ready to resume their relentless campaign of attrition. The jungle has swallowed the enemy's offensive. 38:00 end. Wendell Fertig's steadfast refusal to surrender and his extraordinary leadership in the face of overwhelming odds leave an indelible mark on the history of World War II. From June 1942, an isolated engineer with no army and no official mandate, he builds a highly effective fighting force and a functioning civil government across Mindanao. By February 1945, his guerrilla movement boasts over 33,000 personnel, with approximately 16,500 armed, a staggering achievement in enemy-occupied territory. This force ties down an estimated 50,000 Japanese soldiers, preventing them from being deployed to other crucial theaters of the Pacific War. The intelligence gathered by Fertig's extensive network of 58 radio stations and countless coast watchers proves invaluable to the Allied command. His reports on Japanese ship movements and troop dispositions contribute significantly to the planning of major naval engagements and the eventual liberation of the Philippines. When American forces finally returned to the Philippines in late 1944 and 1945, Fertig's guerrillas play a crucial role, providing vital support and paving the way for the virtually unopposed landing of U.S. troops with minimal casualties on Mindanao. The liberation of Mindanao, which American commanders had anticipated as a grueling island-hopping campaign, is instead transformed into a pursuit of already shattered Japanese units, reeling from 3 years of relentless guerrilla warfare. Fertig's unconventional methods and unwavering determination earn him high honors. He receives the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism between May 8, 1943, and August 6, 1943. And the Army Distinguished Service Medal for his command of the Mindanao Visayan Force from September 16, 1942, to March 25, 1945. After the war, his unique experience is recognized, and he is assigned to General MacArthur's staff to provide guidance on guerrilla warfare tactics. He later contributes to the development of the U.S. Army's Psychological Warfare Center, which evolves into the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, a testament to his pioneering work in unconventional warfare. Wendell Fertig's story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest hours of war, the human spirit, fueled by an unyielding will to resist, can ignite a flame of defiance that burns against impossible odds. His legacy is one of ingenuity, resilience, and the extraordinary impact a single individual can have in shaping the course of history. He proved that even without official sanction, without initial support, an engineer could become a general, and a handful of desperate men could become an army that would not surrender. If this story moved you, subscribe. New forgotten stories every week. Which moment surprised you most? Comment below.